when they had their horses gather in a circle and all stare up at the sun, and reflected in their horses' eyes, they think they can see God. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. Hope you're doing well. Get the coffee. Today's review is sponsored by the fantastic GoodwillBooks.com. They now have over 1 million items available on GoodwillBooks.com. That includes books as well as movies, video games, music. They have an awesome selection and very reasonable prices. Their inventory is solid. I've checked it out personally, and you can find some great stuff on there. And you can feel good about it. Every purchase made on GoodwillBooks.com goes to free job services and career development support to people in the communities that they serve. So if you're gonna buy a book, this is a really easy way to check that off your list and also do a good thing. Plus, the prices are low and you get free standard shipping on every order, and that is awesome. For a limited time, you can get 15% off all items, books, movies, music, whatever. It's valid for a week from today, so make sure you head on down there as soon as possible and click on that link. And please do not forget to use the promo code for your 15% off, Better Than Food. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. Today is the Cathedral of Mist by Paul Willems. Or is it Willems? Maybe Willems, I'm not sure, he's Belgian. He's fantastic is what he is. This was a gift from John Garland Wells. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Paul Willems was a Belgian author and playwright. I think he's the first Belgian author that I've reviewed on this channel. Maybe that I've ever read. I'm not sure if I've read another Belgian author. I was once having a drink in the Driftwood Room, this bar in Portland, Oregon that's attached to this nice hotel. And I was with a friend of mine. And there was this European businessman there. He was telling us about Antwerp and how beautiful and kind of what an underdog, you know, the city was, just in its beauty. And ever since I heard him talk about it, I wanted to go. Anybody over in Antwerp? The back of this edition from the fantastic Wakefield Press, who also published the excellent Book of Manel by the French author Marcel Schwob, describes this one as thus. A collection of short stories from the last of the great Francophone Belgian fantasists. First published in French in 1983. Distilled tales of distant journeys, buried memories, and impossible architecture. And then it even goes on to describe him as a distinctly Belgian Italo Calvino. And indeed, if you've ever read the Italian author Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities and enjoyed it, I think this is directly up your alley. Willems was born in 1912 and passed away in 1997. So both of those wars were in there in his lifetime. The overarching theme of Willems' short stories, which is what this is, it's a collection of short stories with two kind of essays at the end. Kind of meandering, wandering essays, but I think we'd call them essays. But the overarching theme of his writings in this one seems to be nothingness. Whether that means death or a kind of, it means several things it seems. It's like death, but also a place of kind of tranquil, poetic introspection maybe. I'm going to search for words a lot in this one because it's really kind of ethereal. It's like you kind of like try and grasp onto it and it's like mist. It just kind of like dissipates and it's like you can't really grasp onto anything solid. And indeed, that's sort of what his writing feels like itself. It's sort of like trying to kind of like grasp onto something solid and it's trying to reveal something, but it's only, it can only do so in glimpses and then it's kind of gone again. It's like he's trying to get at the truth of an idea, but it keeps slipping away as soon as he draws near. Kind of like a bird that you're trying to get closer to and then it just flies away. It's always kind of somber and reflective and lonely, though usually peaceful in a way. It's kind of the realm of dreams and meditation, melancholy reflection. There's a great story in writing where he builds his canoe when he's in his early 30s or something, and he goes, he paddles up to this bar, right? And this bar has all these stuffed birds from around the area that this bar owner has shot and stuffed. They start getting on the topic of seal hunting. This bar owner describes how he'll wait for these seals to come up and stare at him. This is his technique for seal hunting. He just sits there on the shore or wherever, and then the seal comes up and he shoots them after they stare at him for a bit. The narrator, Willems, on the other hand, strips naked and goes and waits for seals, but he doesn't bring a gun. He just goes and he waits. It's a very, very funny image in my head of like this kind of this pale Belgian man kind of lying on his stomach naked by the shore waiting for this seal to come out. But this is his metaphor for like writing and meditation and stuff. Is like this is the concept known as seal hunting. So when he's hunting for seals, which is that he's meditating on something. Because he's just staring out there at the water, waiting for these seals to come to shore and come and stare at him. And come and look at him. But he's just thinking about all these different things. So it's just there's definitely an element of comedy. What I'm trying to say is, Willems is not without a sense of humor. It's not black comedy. It's a melancholy collection. It's a melancholy collection of stories tinged with a little bit of humor. For good measure, it's like salt. His stories are like strange, colorful half-dreams you might have on the verge of sleep in foreign places that you've traveled to where you experienced something important or unusual, maybe on a trip or during some sort of gathering where there's a lot of emotional action. And the stories have the running theme of journeys. In all of them, I think. And even in the essays at the end, he seems to describe reading and writing. Those are the names, respectively, of the two essays. One's reading, the other's writing. But he describes them, the act of reading and writing, kind of as journeys in themselves, venturing into extraordinary unknown territory, whether inner or outer, or in the case of Willems, certainly both. So as far as the short stories go, there's some really, really great stuff in here. I was unprepared. The Cathedral of Mist is a gorgeous nocturnal surrealist short story in the vein of Italo Calvino, Borges, Pessoa, and just a dash of someone mysterious like Gian Giano. Willems tells the story of an architect who has created the impossible, a cathedral in a dark forest made out of mist that hovers in the air, where the mist rises and creates droplets of water which fall onto the irises below, and they create music which replaces the bells that would be in a normal cathedral. It's an eerie, beautiful, meditative, gorgeous story. I might take a bite of something with a certain substance and sort of like read this one before falling asleep. The setup is like a father tells his son how he came upon the cathedral with some friends during Christmas 1909. The architect is only known as V. It is a dark, beautiful story. Very, very unusual. One of those stories, where I think the life of the author will probably be, culturally defined by. As in, here is Paul Willems, the man who wrote The Cathedral of Mist. The great nave was worthy of admiration. 154 columns of mist flowed slowly upward, meeting in 7 keystones. There the vapor condensed into droplets of water that fell, one by one, at random. The goldsmith woofers had sculpted admirable irises to catch them on the ground. The deep blue blossoms bristled with slender steel fillets that each drop of water moved to sustained song. This music, which the fashion of the day deemed violet, replaced the bells the architect V had not been able to hang in the steeple of mist. But instead of taking wing like the sound of bells, this sound could be heard only by visitors, and travel to a place very deep inside them. Like harness bells on that little horse pulling a sleigh through the night we bear within, it glided toward that farthest part of ourselves, beyond which music dies in sweet agony. Here, there, everywhere, on high and from all sides, the boughs of trees surrounding the clearing pierced the walls in vault of mist. They seemed to hold the whole church aloft between heaven and earth. Ivy, unable to climb the walls, only reinforced this impression by thickly carpeting the floor in a green, exalted by diffuse and exquisite gray light. That's just beautiful. It's melancholy, but it's not depressing. Pleasantly melancholy. It's a strange line that Willems is walking, and I feel that is only done by a certain strain of authors who are kind of tapped into a very, very specific kind of consciousness. It's very impressive when it's done. And this is a very impressive short story. It's almost like a dish that's just so perfect, you're sort of like suspicious of it. You're like, wow, what's up? What's in there? But it's amazing. The lush and brooding descriptions of nature and architecture, the tactile image he conjures, the communication of awe at seeing such an event unfold before the father's eyes. It's a rare moment of literary magnificence. Another one called In the Horse's Eye is excellent. This traveler who goes to the Far East to visit this culture called the Schwus, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know, it's like Schwus. They live on plateaus. This horse culture with a kind of pagan ritual when they have their horses gather in a circle and all stare up at the sun. And reflected in their horses' eyes, they think they can see God, or gods rather. I think it's a polytheistic culture. It's an eerie, strange, dark story. What all the stories seem to share is a flash of insight or a hint, followed by the vision being obscured or forgotten or somehow lost. Very much like a human life or the most beautiful moments that fill up a human life. And you know, perhaps this is coming from sort of the post-war mentality after all the atrocities in Europe over the course of the 20th century with 2 world wars. Willems possesses a quiet power. He strikes me as a quiet fellow in the corner of the cafe, like his architect V, gathering his thoughts in an attempt to construct something of such opulence. It scarcely seems possible that it was done so by a human. So if you're short on time, and all of us are, my favorite pieces in here are the eponymous story, The Cathedral of Mist, awesome, phenomenal, amazing, In the Horse's Eye, like I mentioned, and then the last 2 pieces, Reading and Writing. The other stories were okay. One of them, The Palace of Emptiness, was actually shockingly brutal. Kind of a strange attempt, a dark twist for the reader. It's all about an abusive rapist husband who becomes so after the death of his parents, and the sadomasochistic relationship that develops thereafter with his wife, while he mentally constructs a kind of hideous palace of emptiness. It's easily the darkest story in the book, and these stories, you know, certainly aren't bright and cheery, but it's kind of an awkward tonal curveball, and not nearly as successful as the other ones in my opinion. So his essays on reading and writing are terrific. This observation about being a writer I found to be excellent. In fact, the world outside no longer threatens the man at work. The true threat comes from within. The poet is alone before the page, hauled out before the court of himself. The members of his jury are uncertainty, anxiety, sleepless nights, and fear. Seldom, hardly ever, joy. The act of writing is dangerous because it makes us doubt ourselves. It is not the blank page that makes us dizzy, but the blackened one, soiled with words. A terrible vertigo that turns into dismal despair when we read ourselves over. It takes immense effort. Yes. The greatest writers have sacrificed their lives to it. Balzac and Proust succumbed to work. Kleist, Nerval, and Artaud committed suicide. Others systematically destroyed themselves, like Rimbaud, while others, like Max Elskamp, drew too close to the outer limits and lost their reason. Finally, I'd like to leave you with this piece, again, from writing. It's actually the beginning of writing. Writing is an act driven by desire, fear, anxiety, joy, anger, or nostalgia for the horizon. The nostalgia known to those who have sailed and watched the line where sky meets sea recede with each passing day. To write is also to name, an act of faith, ever frustrated. The hoped-for horizon is never reached, or even drawn near, and what we think we grasp fades away the very moment we give it a name. If illusions were not indefatigable, we would no longer write. So, a frustrated act of faith, a futile journey. A journey cannot be analyzed, cannot prove a theorem. It is recounted. Each person's journey is different, and so my journey is not yours. Our paths may cross from time to time, and we will wave in passing. That's great. There's just something so tragic to Willems' stories. Each one reads, even when joyful, or as close to joyful as they get, as if it's a farewell. So perhaps this would be a terrible collection for people who hate goodbyes. Or perhaps it would be great, because those people are so moved by them. Better than food, without a doubt. So what did I dislike about it? It's not so much that I disliked the other stories, so much as I just thought they were kind of like filler or awkward. Didn't hold up when you know, by comparison, which is fine. You know, some are good, some aren't. So you should read it. If you're at all a fan of Italo Calvino, Jorge Luis Borges, Juan Rulfo, Cesar Aira, Umberto Eco, or magical realism in general, please be sure to get a hold of this one. It's better than food just for the title story, which is exceptional. But thankfully, there are other writings in there which are worth your time as well. Coffee time. For those of you who are new, thanks for stopping by. I take all of the names on Patreon of patrons who have donated $5 or more per video to the show, and I place their names in this mason jar. I pull out a name for every review I do, and I send whoever's name I pull out a hard copy of the book I'm reviewing, plus a bag of delicious coffee roasted by yours truly. And the coffee is delicious, if I do say so myself. That's enough shaking. If you're interested in helping support the show, you can head over to patreon.com/books are better than food, or click on the link below and donate $5 or more per video. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you donate $1 or more, you'll get access to the patron-only reviews, which I just posted a review of Holy the Firm by Annie Dillard. Quite a compelling book. You'll also get access to the Discord channel, and you'll receive the Better Than Friday newsletter that I send out every Friday, which is just a list of 5 different things I'm interested in at any given time. Could be books in the pipeline, music, films, changes week to week. If you think we have similar tastes, I think you'll get a lot of value out of that. Unfortunately, international shipping is not included. Thank you very much to all the patrons, and best of luck. Okay, here we go. Thomas B. Thank you very much, Thomas. You're going to receive The Cathedral of Mist by Paul Willems, plus some delicious coffee, plus a bookmark. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy all of it. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you're all doing well. If you have not already, please subscribe. And also, if you'd be kind enough, and if you enjoyed this review, to hit the thumbs up, I'd sincerely appreciate it, because it gets this review to people who would enjoy this book, and more people reading is a great thing. I think we can all agree. Yes? Yes? Yes. Please give me a follow, if you would, on Instagram as well. And always remember, bring a book wherever you go. Take care of yourselves. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Ciao.